I realized that with the mindset shift, there was also a trap that it's an external thing, that as long as I shift my mindset, I just reframe this to that, make it more positive sounding, focus on the good things, be more grateful, I will change my results. But that too was controlling. That too was a kind of, I'm still hanging on to that steering wheel, gripping it really tightly because I want the car to go in a certain direction. And I'm not willing for the car to say, I actually want to take path, highway B instead of highway A.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Business Expansion Tips with Kanika Vasudeva, your host. Today, I have an amazing guest, my friend as well, if I couldn't say that. She is Serena. She is a trauma informed introvert coach. So, welcome to the show, Serena. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me, Kanika.
So, we were just talking before this, and you were mentioning that you've been 14 years in business. You registered your ABN, and then it's been like a little on off journey. Do you want to talk about that? Like, what was really going on underneath the surface there?
I think what was really going on underneath the surface was that I had this assumption that life moves in a linear fashion, in a direct, very cause and effect kind of way. And that's because I was very used to that kind of thinking and that kind of life. Before I moved into my current path, I was a lawyer for 11 years. And in law, everything is black and white. You do look for loopholes, yes, but there is a process to everything. There is, very strict rules about what is and isn't true. And so I was very used to that kind of way of thinking, very cerebral, very safe, very intellectual. But when it comes to running your own business, I suddenly realized there's nothing straightforward about it. And it took me 14 years, I think, to fully immerse myself and fully commit to this journey. There were so many points along the way where I thought to myself, am I really cut out for this business thing? Maybe I'm not business minded enough. Maybe I don't love money enough. Maybe I'm just not savvy enough, like some people are naturally very street smart. Maybe I'm just meant to be doing predictable, safe things.
I think a lot of listeners will agree with that. We all think, I've had that. I watch a lot of coaches do the same as well. We all think, gosh, this is not made for me.
That's right. This is not made for me. And what I've learned is that I had to expand first before the business could expand. So all this time I was, working with different coaches, reading other people's experiences, trying to copy what other people were doing to be successful. And all of that was still chasing after the external, right? Because we find safety when we compare ourselves with other people. If we're doing the same things, then we should expect the same results. And a lot of coaches will tell us that as well, that, follow my blueprint. This is the way to success. Do it this way. This is the right way, 7 points or 5 paths or whatever it is. And then we believe it because we want to believe in something that will give us that certainty, that
A
security,
structure.
that safety. Yes, the structure. We love the structure. Structure makes us feel safe.
Ah, thank you. Thanks for saying that because I see that again and again that you need to expand internally first before business expands. And I actually think of this mindset work or inner work as the real foundational work because you will not expand more than what you've got within. A business will never do that, especially a heart led business. Like it's very much an extension of you. So it's really got to begin with your own expansion. So well done on moving. Well done on fully stepping in. What shifted for you as you moved from that place where it was kind of, sometimes still wanting the safety or that linear predictability? What shifted between now and then?
I think what really shifted has been appreciating that just like when you go bushwalking or you go hiking, you have an idea where the destination is, or the summit, and you want to get to the summit in a hurry. You want to get there quickly by the shortest route possible, by the most direct route. And sometimes you may do that and then realize, oh, I didn't stop to appreciate the views along the way. Or you might get lost, which I've done quite a few times. And in getting lost and in trying to find your way back to the path, you then realize, hang on, actually, these scenic detours were quite special in their own way. Even though it took longer, I still got there eventually. I just took longer than other people. That's fine. But I also got to see some amazing angles and views and new vistas. And because I tripped over that rock, or I went round the wrong path, or I went the opposite direction from where I was supposed to go, I discovered something I otherwise wouldn't have come across. So for me, I've rebadged all these, hiccups and, trips and falls and whatever along the path into scenic detours. So I've been detouring for the last 20 years away from what I used to do.
Love that. Love the reframe that you've been doing the scenic detours, because don't we do that? Like, if there's a shorter way and we feel, oh, this is a scenic drive, we all tend to take that route if we have time. Amazing. Good. And what shifted business wise? Did you feel the profit shift? Did you feel a sense of ease with yourself in getting clients? Did your language change when you were talking about your business?
A few things shifted. And I think, first of all, was the mindset shift you talked about. But even that only took me so far. I realized that with the mindset shift, there was also a trap that it's an external thing, that as long as I shift my mindset, I just reframe this to that, make it more positive sounding, focus on the good things, be more grateful, I will change my results. But that too was controlling. That too was a kind of, I'm still hanging on to that steering wheel, gripping it really tightly because I want the car to go in a certain direction. And I'm not willing for the car to say, I actually want to take path, highway B instead of highway A. And so there was that lack of trust. And I think the thing that really made the difference was another step deeper. And that was for me the identity shift. That was when I saw myself differently. I saw myself as a small part of this amazing, magical cosmos, this universe, right? And you know that effect that they say when astronauts go into space and they look at the world very differently. That is the kind of way of looking at it that I'm trying to cultivate, which is that distance and also that humility to see that I occupy actually a very tiny part of everything that's going on. There is so much going on behind the scenes I have no clue about. What forces have been at work conspiring in my favor, helping me move in a certain direction, nudging me away from making some bad choices maybe, and closing some doors where I thought, why did you close that door? I really wanted to go through that portal. And all these are like gently guiding, and we have no clue. So now I'm starting to see myself as, wow, I'm so small. And I have all these worries and all these anxieties, but so do all the other people in my universe. Everyone is burdened with something different. But at the same time, it is still a beautiful universe. There's still something magical going on. And I get to participate in it every day. As long as I'm breathing, as long as I'm alive, as long as I woke up this morning, I still have choices. I can still take part. I don't have to sit on the sidelines and be passive. I don't have to just be a spectator. I can actually co-create, take part in things, engage, ask questions, be curious, explore. And that's really what I'm doing.
Beautiful. What I'm taking away is that instead of feeling a sense of ego with everything that I'm doing this, you're actually reframing and going, okay, I'm a part of the bigger world and things are happening and this is blissful as it is. So it's shifting from it's all about me, like I've got to do everything, and shifting to it's not about me, like the world's happening anyway. And I kind of always think of this whole universe play and then us as, the whole universe has its own current. It's like the big elephant, like nature will happen by itself, and we are little ants, and we sometimes still try and control the elephant. We want to control when the clients will come, we want to control how things will happen. The more I'm realizing that I'm just that tiny part, and things happen in their own rhythm and I can just align with it. And by the way, they're all happening for me, they're all supporting me anyway. It's also a little bit like kids little babies or little kids, they might not really be fully aware of what their parents are doing for them. They might still find faults. You didn't pick me up from school, you weren't there for this meeting. There might be so much of that, but they might not understand how much their parents are doing for them. And sometimes we tend to get the same way when we think a lot about us. So it's a beautiful reframe where you're saying, well, we are little, the world's much bigger. Amazing. Okay, so one thing I loved about your bio, Serena, is that you've got a very well defined niche. You talk about yourself as an introvert coach. And that's brilliant because you are then able to target people who are just your right audience. Now, one of the things that I find with my clients, because I coach coaches to build profitable businesses, one of the beginning things that I see with them more often than not is that they want to go out really wide and appeal to the whole world. And it ends up that you are talking to everybody and you're talking to nobody. So, how did your shift come about? How did you really understand that you wanted to pitch or be there more for introvert coaches? And how was that for you before you put that title in there and after putting it?
So before I put that title in there, I was actually focused on supporting women in midlife. So professional women who wanted to pivot away or who were just considering what are the next steps possible for them. But over time, because I was also working with coaches who had very specific ideas about what visibility looks like. The advice then was that you should put yourself out there. You should fake it till you make it. You should be loud. You should go to all these networking events and, do your elevator pitch. And I remember working on that as well, like the specific wording you should say when somebody asks you, so what do you do? And for one solid year, I went to those networking events. And the funny thing was, they all ran along the same kind of structure, which is loud background music, a lot of people, a lot of talking, people talking over each other sometimes. And I would notice as an introvert that I couldn't find my way in. It takes a special something to be able to enter those conversations, especially when people are mid-flow, and then to exit those conversations. And I felt even in trying to get out of those conversations to go home, I felt guilty and I felt trapped. I felt like people are following some kind of hidden rule that I know nothing about. And that's not true to my personality. I just don't have the energy for a sustained conversation at that kind of energetic level. So I thought, I wonder, are there any other groups in Melbourne that run networking events differently? And I couldn't find any. But I did find an app called Meetup. And it's a platform where people come together based on their common interests and hobbies. So I thought, okay, let's see if there are any introvert friendly meetups in here. And at that time, there weren't any. So I thought, I wonder if I could start my own community and do networking differently and just introverts coming together. And so that was an experiment in itself. And that's been going on since like 2017. And particularly in the last 5 years with the pandemic, it really brought all the quiet people out, all the highly sensitive people, all the empaths coming to meet up with others who are exactly like them. And so there is that sense of safety, there is that sense of kindred spirit, of fellowship, and there is no strain because there's no small talk, there is no, purposeless conversation. It's all deep conversation. So to answer your question, the shift I think was away from visibility as other people define it to being visibility as it works for me in an energetic sense. And for me, energy is very important because I can't sustain as an introvert that level of constantly being switched on, having to talk, having to be, socially stimulated. I can't. My battery is about 2 hours maximum. And then after that, everything sags. The smile sags, the face droops. I run out of words to say. I go really quiet. And I notice my fellow introverts are exactly the same. Some of them have even shorter batteries. So I've made it normal for us to say, thanks, I've had a great time, but I need to go now. And just to make it really normal for people to get up and go, and so preserve their own battery.
Love that. I always talk about energy balancing. I always say we should do more of the activities that are more energizing for us and do less of what is draining for us, and actually lesser and lesser. Especially as business people, there's a lot of energy that we are putting into the work that we do with our clients or other promotional things. And we always want to be really conscious of our energy and doing things that sustain us. So, how did business for you really take off from these meetups? Because it seems like you got guided, you found your niche as the introvert coach, and you have now this beautiful blooming community. And I love the example because I do want to bring it forward for listeners as well. Often we think that social media is the way or this blueprint is the way, and I love that you've got a different way of doing things. So tell us a little bit more. How did your business shift with that? Before we continue, I want to pause for a moment because so many of you while listening to this podcast are building something really meaningful. And a lot of times, what stands between you and steady sales is simply an energetic or a messaging block. And once that is removed, then sales can start coming in. So if you want to understand what's really going underneath your sales patterns, then book a free energetic sales audit with me at artoflifecenter.com/sales. And we'll identify what's holding you back and some of the shifts that you can make to earn more income and attract aligned clients.
I think what made the most difference is actually having that community. Previously, before I understood the meaning and the importance of community, I was just putting things out there randomly, right? My coach would say, put together this offer and then launch it. And I would do all that. But without a community that already knows you and trusts you and is invested in your kind of thinking, you actually have no base. You're really starting off in the deep end. And that was what I did for many, many years. But now what I do is I always offer it to my community first because they have been traveling with me for some time. They know who I am, they know what I talk about. We have built that kind of trust and understanding. So I think the community needs to come first before we even think about any offers.
Yes, and that's a warm network. These are people who are collaborators with you. You and I, we met this way. These are people who are your tribe. You get feedback from them. And I always also tell my clients that it's not a transactional process. It's a growing journey where you're both part of. Sometimes people will come together, they'll become clients then. But as a coach, your duty is to serve. You bring out that value to the other person. When they're ready, they'll step in, they'll come in. But it's a good feedback loop because you get feedback from them. You get the sort of questions that they would have. You get to understand your client avatar a lot more. You're really able to deeply hone in to truly what you have to offer rather than driving um, just blind. Yeah. Um, so, how is the community helping you now? And what happens when somebody joins your community, when they get into Serena's circle?
They join the community in one of several ways. So the meetup community is one way, and that has got people joining every day because there are so many introverts out there looking for friendship and companionship. But people also find me through my podcast, the Quiet Warrior podcast. And because it's specifically catered to introverts and highly sensitive people, the people that start listening to the podcast start realizing that, oh, here's a vehicle that reflects what I'm currently thinking about, my worries, my struggles. Here's somebody who actually understands me. So some clients have come through that work as well. It's really about understanding what my my audience needs. And that requires a lot of listening, a lot of attention to detail, and then making it accessible for them in a way that's compatible with who they are. So introverts very typically, when they are listening to a podcast, they're also multitasking. They could be, exercising, doing house chores, or some driving somewhere. And so they are listening and they are we're creating a little friendship. I'm like this calm, soothing voice in their ear, sharing things I've discovered or what other people have taught me about introversion and the strengths of introverts. And so that's like their gentle cheerleader in their ear. And so that also creates the trust.
Amazing. So, Serena, you've traveled far in your business. Like you've done 14 years, you've come now to a place where you feel, okay, my business is it. And you're fully embodying that identity as the introvert coach, somebody who's helping people shift their lives. So, what do you think perhaps would be the building blocks? If somebody is to start out a coaching business, what is the building block for them? We talked around mindset and we said that's a very important part. Then we talked around the identity shift that you make it not as much about you, you make it about your serving to the whole world and that life's working out for you. But is there anything else that goes in the mix?
I think there is a lot that goes in the mix because building a business is like building yourself, in that the business can only expand as far as I'm willing to expand myself. So if I'm holding back in some area, it reflects in my business too, because there is an there is a withholding of energy. If there is a space I'm not willing to go into for, let's say, very deep causes, very deep root causes, then I need to ask myself, am I willing to do the inner work to release whatever is it that's blocking my way? And that's why I call it trauma-informed introvert coach, because I noticed that a lot of my clients, the solutions that they have previously explored, whether it's through books or some other personal development program that tells them they have to change their mindset, they have to become more courageous, more resilient, stop procrastinating, stop overthinking. They know that intellectually. The problem is there is still something deeper that needs to be looked at, that needs to be faced honestly and gently and kindly, that is preventing them. And sometimes it's very deep-rooted trauma. It could be back in childhood, it could be ancestral, it's not even theirs, it's there, several generations ago. And once they're able to identify what that root cause is, and to make peace with it and to let go of it. Then it no longer becomes this burden that they have to drag around for the rest of their lives. It becomes something they can release with love and they can acknowledge it. They can say thank you to it, whatever ritual they use. But then it's no longer taking up space in their minds and in their hearts. So I think that's the important part.
Oh, yeah, I totally relate with it. I remember when I started my coaching business, I was really trying to do a lot. And I would wake up, do a lot, like go to bed tired, then have maybe 10, 15 to-do lists, and I would do it and do it and do it. The worst part was that even though I worked so much, I still would feel as if I'd not worked hard enough. And I was dying. I was working so bad. I was probably sleeping maybe 2 or 3 hours, and that was not great either. Sometimes longer, sometimes when my body really just crashed. And then one day I said, well, this obviously cannot continue. Let's look at it internally. And I looked at myself and I met my inner child. My inner child was trying to please my dad. I was trying to be this person who was just trying to win over daddy's attention. And now I was doing something that wasn't exactly my daddy's future vision of me. I was doing something that was so different. But once I realized that I was just doing all of this to get a certificate from daddy, then things calmed down. Then I could talk to my inner child and say, all right, we don't have to overwork. We don't have to really die here. It's all right. But that shifted a lot. So I can totally resonate because I see this with the clients as well. A lot of times, what we are doing in our business or what we are not doing is because there's something internal that's going inside us. There's another story.
Exactly. And it's that deeper story that makes the difference. When you change that story, then the results will change.
Yes, when you change inside, the outside shifts follow.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Um, can we get into a rapid fire round? So it's no pressure. Very simple questions. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind, and really, no answer is right or wrong. Is that fine?
Sure.
Ready to get into it? Okay, what's your morning routine like? How do you get into your calm space?
The first thing I do in the first, let's say, 30 seconds of waking up is to say something beautiful to myself, something that affirms that this is a beautiful day. I'm so grateful to wake up. I'm excited about this day. It's going to be an amazing day, something like that. And then when I go into the bathroom, the first thing I do, even before brushing my teeth, is look at myself in the mirror and do the equivalent of Mel Robbins' high five rule. So either I give myself a high five or I just smile really widely at my reflection before I've washed my face, put on makeup, or anything like that. Me looking at my natural self, my most natural self, and just smiling and saying, I love you, or I'm proud of you.
Ah, amazing. So blissful. And I'm so glad I asked this. Amazing. Good. Are you a coffee person, a tea person? What drink do you have?
I used to be more of a coffee person. Nowadays, I'm a more of a tea person.
Okay. Do you have a special night routine just before you go to bed? Like something that you mentioned in the morning, you look at yourself and you smile. Do you have thoughts that you tell yourself before you go to bed?
I have my journal next to me, so I like to write down three things I'm grateful for. And that is I think, a nice way to wind up.
Yes. And it allows us to be in that gratitude frame of mind, but it helps us see that life is actually working out for us, that even
Mm,
if the day wasn't, somehow the analytical mind can take over and it helps us
mm.
just go like, well, actually it was a good day, things are working out and I am not in control, but it's still really good.
Yes, yes. And to add to that, I would say also putting my phone into aeroplane mode. It's very
Yes.
important. Yes, because it's just tempting to check one last time, have a look at it and see what's going on in the world, and just disconnecting. Yeah. And recognizing that I really don't need to know everything that's going on. It's okay to miss out. It's okay not to know. Let me go into my own bubble and be peaceful.
Amazing. What's your relationship with social media? Do you go out there? Do you post most? What do you do on social media?
I, for an introvert, I would say I post quite a lot. But I also post only in bursts when I have the energy. I don't post when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling lost, or when I'm feeling upset about something, because it's that energy that I'm putting out into the world. And I want to put a positive and wholesome kind of energy. I think there's already too much depressing stuff out there, and I want to add only what's good and appropriate. So selectively. With Instagram, I find it doesn't really work for me now, and for Facebook as well. But on LinkedIn, I get a lot of quality conversations. I can be more open about my thoughts, about my philosophy, about, the way I'm looking at things, the way I'm handling things, and I get very good responses from, fellow kindred spirits there.
Yeah, and I love the idea as well that you're putting out content when you feel really good because your energy within is what ripples outward as well and comes back to you.
Exactly.
Great. Do you think there's anything around business growth that we haven't talked about that you would want to bring to our listeners?
I think when we talk about visibility and expansion, people tend to think of it in terms of how many clients, how much growth, how many, what's my revenue this year. And yes, those are important metrics to look at, but also look at how happy and fulfilled are you doing this? How peaceful are you feeling? How do you feel about yourself when you go to bed? Are you proud of yourself for whatever you've done this day? Can you sincerely say that you are helping to change lives? You are helping people to feel hopeful or feel better or feel more in control of their careers, their businesses, whatever it is that you help them with. And if you are already doing those things, then give yourself a hug, give yourself a pat on the back, acknowledge that you are doing your best, and it's just going to get better.
Amazing. Amazing thoughts, Serena. So, how can the listeners find you if they want to reach out to you?
Well, I'm the Quiet Warrior coach on all social media. Um, and I've also got my podcast, the Quiet Warrior podcast.
Amazing. And we'll have those links in the show notes as well. So, listeners, I hope you've really enjoyed it. One of the things that I took away from today's conversation definitely was that we need to change our internal balance, our internal energy, and that is what reflects outwards. It all begins with you, especially as a coach. You are the leader, you are the one who's the guiding light. So, you become that person, you embody that version, that transformation that you're bringing out into the world. Do that. That's a gift to everybody around you. Do that. And then there's more prosperity for you and for the whole world. So, on that note, we'll close this time and I'll see you in another episode.